Hi guys, hope everybody is safe and well. This is continuing our 7th series of videos, chapter 10 in the Disler, page 57, alternating bass for chords. This is a really great technique, one I really like and use quite a bit in the different styles of playing that I do. I'm going to try not to get too far into the weeds here because she does explain some things about diminished and augmented chords that I'm not going to get too much into for the sake of time and what we really need to know to round out this class as far as technique and the final exam. So I will again keep this based on the list of chords we do from the Hal Leonard book, and there's a little worksheet section that we'll run through here to hopefully give you some ideas of how to figure these things out. So an alternating bass simply means the root of the chord alternates with another chord tone. So that means we have to understand the bass chord or root chord technique like I was just demonstrating in the last video. It would be when I isolate the bass and then strum the chord. And that would sound like this. If I did it with an E minor chord, I'd be playing 6 string, 5 and above, 6 string, 5 and above. So when we alternate, we use another chord tone in the bass part of the strumming or free stroke technique, because this can be fingerpicked too. We're going to stick with one particular chord tone. Notice that phrase, chord tone. Alternating bass is used a lot in every style of music. We even hear it in symphonic music where the cellos and double basses are playing alternating bass notes. So you hear this in all sorts of different genres and styles of music. What we need to do is practice finding the fifth of each chord. The reason we use fifths is because they are friendly to both major and minor and seventh chords. So I can use the same alternating bass note for all of the E chords that I know from the book, or all of the A chords that I know from the book. So the pattern's going to go root, chord, alternating bass, chord, which is what's written in the middle there. So if I stick to the E minor again, I have root, strum, alternating bass, strum, root, strum, alternating bass. Again, that's a familiar pattern to our ears. And what I'm doing there is playing the E for the root, and then I actually count up 5 letter names. The trick here is to remember to always count the name of the chord as number 1. So if I count from E, it's going to be E, F, G, A, B. And I found the lowest B in my natural scale, E, F, G, A, B, which just happens to be part of the E minor chord. So I'm playing 6th string, strum, 5th string, strum, without changing anything in my left hand. Okay? So that's the basic premise of what we're going to be doing here, is finding fifths and alternating between a strum and a bass note. Perfect fifths is alternating basic. Music theory offers many helpful shortcuts in learning the guitar, and one such shortcut is a system for figuring out alternating bass notes for different chords. And that means counting to fifths. That's the theory we're referring to. It's possible to use any tone on any string belonging to a chord as an alternating bass. However, the one that is heard most frequently in all forms of music is the fifth. And you really can experiment with different bass notes. You may have heard things like a descending bass line. So those types of things are common, or chromatic bass lines where we drop by half steps. Okay, but we're not going to be doing anything but fifths. So that's what you need to know for our class and for our examination. So it says, when counting intervals in music, the starting letter of the chord name, that's what that means. The starting letter is always number 1. Do not add as you would in math. And by the way, you guys know the major scale pattern, which is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Again, that's something we're going to be using throughout the class, which means that I can figure out what the actual distance of a perfect fifth is. Whole, whole, half, whole. That would get me up to the fifth in the scale. Whole, whole, half, whole. So it's 3.5 steps from the root to the fifth to what we call a perfect fifth. And that perfect fifth has no major or minor quality. It's a more supportive sound. For those of you who play rock already or power chords on the guitar, those 2-note chords are root and fifth. They just support the sound of the root with no color. So there's a few examples of how to count up here again. A, B, C, D, E is at the top there. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, and so E would be considered the fifth above A. And then on this page, there's also a little rule which we can apply to our chords. And this says, if a root is sharp, this is true throughout music, the fifth is sharp. If the root is sharp, the fifth is sharp. Well, we don't have any sharp chords on our list. They're all natural notes. If a root is flat, the fifth is flat. So if the root is an E flat, the fifth is going to be a B flat. That's what that's telling us. And again, that's not really going to be applicable to us. But this last rule is applicable to us. If the root is natural, the fifth is natural. The only exception is between B and F. So the distance between B and F is only 3 steps. It's a spot in the musical scale, in the C scale, that does not match up to 3.5 steps or the perfect fifth. And so when we play, you'll notice we do have a B chord. It's B7. When we play or chart out how to play an alternating bass on a B7 chord, we must use F sharp and raise that tone up. So all the other tones will be matching natural notes. So when the root is B, the perfect fifth is F sharp. And I'll do a little bit of the chart here just to show you how this is working. If the chord's name is B, then the perfect fifth is F sharp. They just told us that. If I have a flatted chord and root, then I can still count up 5 to find the fifth, but it must be flatted. D, E, F, G, A, and that A is flat. We do have an F chord, F, G, A, B, C. That would be the fifth. And if I do A, B, C, D, E, A flat, the fifth would be E flat. E is the root. Now we have E chords, so this will be the alternating bass for all of the E chords. E, F, G, A, B. B natural, just like I started in the video, E minor to B. And then G, we have G chords. What would the alternating bass be to G? G, A, B, C, D. Notice what happened there. I was at the end of the musical alphabet. G, A, B, C, D. It's as if there were no end or beginning to the alphabet. B flat. Now this is a trick question. If the root is B flat, the fifth would be F natural. Why did I call that a trick question? Because it's kind of, again, reiterating this rule up here. If the root is flat, shouldn't the fifth be flat? Well, B is the only exception. If B natural matches up with F sharp and I lower that note a half step, I must lower this note a half step. It's always going to be 3.5 steps. F sharp, F, G, A, B, C. Again, I'm just counting on my fingers to demonstrate it's a simple concept to go up. Okay, I'm going to skip these flatted notes here and just go to the ones that apply to us. D, what would the alternating bass be to any D chord? D, E, F, G, A. So notice I am always counting the root as number 1. If C is number 1, C, D, E, F, G. G is the fifth. Now I may have to fill in a chord when I'm actually fill in a note when I'm actually physically doing this. So I'll show that and demonstrate that in a moment. Here is the A for any A chord, A7, A minor, A, B, C, D, E. So I can always use an E against any A chord. And then it says, but not all chords have perfect fifths. Again, this is the theory I don't want to get too deeply into. Right now, you can always email me any questions if you have them. A diminished chord is basically got a flatted fifth in it. And a flatted fifth is a dissonant sound. So if I took a minor chord like D minor and I lowered the A, that's what a diminished chord sounds like. It's very dissonant. And an augmented chord, if I played a major chord and took the A, it's a D chord, and raised it up a half a step, okay, and that one is a augmented chord, a major chord with a sharp fifth. Again, we won't be coming down that path anytime soon. Okay, so she just kind of gives us a little theory there. And this is the chart I want to make sure we have time to get to. So what we have here, and this is similar to what you're going to see, is a chord. And then I ask you to name the root. And then I ask you to find the fifth and name it by letter and then mark it on the score. So E is done for us. I'm sorry, A is done for us and E is the fifth. B7 is done for us and F sharp is the fifth. And there's a little chart showing each one of these in notation. Remember, the slash is a strum. So for a C chord, we would actually have to write this bass note in. We don't have a low G in the C chord. So make sure, again, if you need to write it in, write it in. I can't use this G here. I can use it open in the chord, but I want to, the rule is, and she doesn't really say this too clearly here, always look for the lowest possible fifth you can play in the natural scale. So I don't want the middle G, I want the low G. And I would have to put that note in. If I ask you to write an alternating bass suggestion for this chord, you would have to write it in and tell me where to play it. So let's see if we can get the rest of these done in a couple minutes here. So if the chord is D, D, E, F, G, A, and I would play that on the fourth string open and the fifth string open. So here's my open D, that's the root. Here's my open A, that's the fifth. And this could be applicable to any D chord. And I would have the low D, a slash, and remember any note on the fifth or sixth string must use a ledger line, so that low A is the one I'm notating. Okay? Next chord is E. E is the root. And E, F, G, A, B. I counted up to B and found the fifth. And that is sixth string open. The lowest possible B, E, F, G, A, B would be there. And that is on the fifth string, second fret. So I put the low E in, and remember, you're going to need to know how to write these chords in too. And the B is the fifth, the open E is the root, and we'll do a full E chord here. And B would be one ledger line and a strum. Okay, so that would be E, strum, B, strum, E, strum, B, strum. And that would work on all of the E chords and all of the D chords for the previous chord. Now, F is the exception of finding the lowest possible note because our F in the F chord is on the fourth string. So we are not using the low F there. If I count up 5 letters, F, G, A, B, C. So I have fourth string, third fret. And the lowest C I can possibly play would be there. That would be fifth string, third fret. And then my F chord written in, and I would get F, strum, C. Because the C's on the fifth string, I'd need a ledger line, and there's my strum. So I would have to write in this extra note again to get an alternating bass. That's my only other C choice, and that is not low enough. Your alternating bass should always be on these bottom strings, okay? Always look for the lowest one. And G, this is an interesting one. G, A, B, C, D. G on the sixth string, third fret. that is, make sure that there's only 3 there, and then that is 4th string open. So in this case, I'm actually skipping, if I write in the chord, I'm actually skipping the 5th string note. So I'm not playing that A. I'm just going to erase it here. You can put your finger down on it, but the notes I'd be using would be the root here and the 5th here, and not playing the 5th string at all. Now I could play it. I know it's a chord tone. It's part of the chord, but for our pattern, we would have to skip, and that would sound something like this. 6th string, 4 and above. I'm sorry, 3 and above. 6th string, 3 and above. 4th string, 3 and above. So I'm not playing the A string at all there. And because the G is on the 6th string, it would need 2 ledger lines with a slash, and then a D with the slash there. Okay, so that is a lesson again through the worksheets here on how to find the alternating bass. You must, for the final, be able to tell me what the root of any chord is. So A7, the root is A. What is the alternating bass for A7? A, B, C, D, E. E is the alternating bass. And then you must be able to mark them on a chord picture, which I didn't do for F there. This would be the 5th, alternating bass is C, and this would be the root F. And this would just be a strumming pattern that we've notated here. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.